everybody, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. Today I'm going to do the second card in my stamping art series. So if you saw yesterday's, then you know kind of where I'm going with it. But before we start, we'll just do a couple of things. The set I'm going to use is part of Celebration. So Celebration is, a third over, I guess. It lasts in July and August of this year. Everything in this catalog is free with the purchase. So there's $50 ones and $100 ones. So if you spend $150, you get 3 of them. If you spend $100, you can choose one of the 100s or 2 of the 50s. And then there's a couple of other special things in here. Oh, and they are while supplies last. And the most popular item already sold out. So if there's something that you have your heart set on, I would get it sooner rather than later, because I know sometimes y'all like to wait till the weekend to shop or something, but if there's something and you just have to have it, then I would recommend getting it now. So it's the note cards and envelopes that I have used a lot on my channel, and I'm using them in my card club this month. So thankfully I got them just before they sold out, but remember, they are while supplies last. So then there's 2 things in here. One is the planner, and I'm going to do a quick video on it soon. I'm going to get this third one in this series done, and then next week around July 25th I'm going to be doing Christmas in July, so I'll have 4 or 5 Christmas cards for you, and then I'm stopping Christmas for a little bit again because it's still middle of summer, guys. I'm not going to keep doing Christmas, but I know some of you like to plan ahead, and it's always fun to do a Christmas in July. So I've done a couple, and we'll get 5 more in. If there's something in the holiday catalog that you want me to use, let me know. I have probably 2/3 of the stuff in there. So just let me know. And if I have it, I'll try to work it into the rotation because I haven't done any of the cards yet. So I can still do that. But then there's the planner. And in between the 2, I'll do a video on the planner and on joining my team. So there's a bunch of benefits from it. This planner is fabulous. We were able to purchase it as demonstrators, and it was around $60, $55, $60 US. Completely free as part of your kit. But it comes with the planner, tons of pages for like a year and a half, some notebooks, and a stamp set. So that's free. I do have some Try It class packets left. Those always are free to my team members all the time. But I did a few extra, not a ton, but I did do a couple of extra that you can get if you're part of my team and you sign up before they're gone, and that's $75. So then there's also this set, and this is the one I'm going to use today. It's Perfect Pomegranate. This is the first time I didn't look at their samples. I was like, we need some pomegranate ink. I can see they went a little more purple and red. I'm not 100% sure what color pomegranates are. I think they tend towards the purple-ish, reddish, or maybe they're different colors. I don't know that much about pomegranates. I like to eat them, but I would prefer to buy them just the pulp and somebody else have taken care of it. And they remind me a little bit of passion fruits. And we just had a pavlova that I made for my daughter for her birthday. So we did have passion fruits. For some reason, I think they're kind of the same thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just, whatever. But this is a completely free set. If there's 2 ways you can get it. If you host a party, or if your order's over $300, then it's automatically added. So I'm trying to see what it says here. Oh yeah. Place any party or personal order over 300. So if you combine some orders, I do have 1 or 2 that I will be giving away in August. So check back here in August, and I will give those away. I'll have a couple of ways that you can go into drawings to get those. So that's what I'm going to use today. So this is the card from yesterday. And as I do this series, some of you commented on the video that there was a lot of stuff, and some of you liked it more simple. Part of the reason I'm doing lots of steps on 3 cards is just so I can get a bunch of techniques in without doing 10 projects. So if I can show you 9 or 10 techniques and not have to do 9 or 10 projects to show you, then it's a bonus. And at any point on any of these cards, you could stop. And then if I have time, I don't know that I will, but if I do, I'll do kind of a mashup, which is what I do from Card Club, because you could take today's stamp set, the Perfect Pomegranate, and do this card. So this is the olive branch, but you could switch it. The card I'm going to do now, if you don't have the pomegranate, you can use the olive branch. And then I have 1 more that I'll be using tomorrow. So check back, but all of the techniques will work with all of them. And today's we'll kind of slide into yesterday's, and then I'll kind of use some of the stuff again and go on. So for the techniques on this, we're going to go back to the blending brushes, because as you can see, this stamp is another one. Sometimes we get stamp sets, especially when they're standalone, and you're like, I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And that's kind of the olives, because they really need 2 colors on them. This one you could get away with not having to do 2 colors, because it's a lovely distinctive style set. So when you stamp it, you're going to get the shading of colors. I wanted it to be a little bit more realistic. So here's what we're going to do for this. First thing we're going to do, I have soft suede, and then again shimmery white. That's what I worked with yesterday. So when you're not using, there's no die cutting on this one. When you're using minimal actual things on your card, it's a lot of supplies to get it there, but there's not much on the card, and the shimmery white just adds a touch of excellence. So let's go. The first thing I'm going to do is I have a little bit of grid paper, and it got wet. I laid my wet wipe on it, so it's a little bit up here. And then this is one of our stencils that is in the annual catalog, I think. I don't think it's from the holiday, but I'll put everything you need down underneath this video so you'll be able to see it. So I wanted a stencil background, because you know those are always a great way to add something to a card with not a lot of work. This is some super old washi tape. We do have new washi tape in the catalog. So whether or not you want it to get it to use to decorate your cards, it's in the Halloween section, or whether you just want it to use like this. I love washi tape because it pulls up really easy. It's kind of like the crafter's version of painter's tape. So I'm going to use the same colors on my background and on my stamps. So let's start with some petal pink. And I do too hard when I'm videoing, because I am thinking about what I'm saying. I didn't want this to be dark, so I'm just going to put a little bit on here. Kind of go down into the middle. Oops, now I have it on my hands. So we got the petal pink. Then let's do some So Saffron. See if I can keep all these open up here. Probably not. I have more colors than what I have space. So the So Saffron. All of these now, since I've made a couple of cards with it, could stand to be re-inked, but I didn't want to do it right before I was stamping. That's never a good idea, because then it's just kind of all sitting there in one spot. And then I'm going to take Poppy Parade. These are the colors that I chose to make my pomegranate in. So just a little bit of Poppy Parade. And I'm barely brushing so I can get a softer color. Put my reds over here. And then a little bit of Cherry Cobbler. So now we should, I'm not going to close it. Remember not to close it. Now we have a nice background that we can put our pomegranates on. Then, before I do anything else and spend any more time on it, because that doesn't take long, I am going to add my greeting. I'm actually using a Christmas set for my greeting. I'm using Hope and Peace, but there are some words in here that you could cut apart to get other sayings. But this one, God's blessing to you, is just perfect for tons of cards. So I'm going to take black. Like I said, I'm going to do this step. I want it to be on top of the ink, so you really have to do it second. But you know, sometimes when we stamp words, they're the one thing that can kind of give us fits, because they can be crooked or they could be smeared. But there we have God's blessings to you. So got that. Now I'm going to use the Stamparatus again. I'm going to color the stamps pretty much the same way I did yesterday. So, except today's stamps are photopolymer. And you know, when you get our Stamparatus, then it comes with a couple of different plates. So I've already set mine up, but I will show you how I did it. So here is the Stamparatus, but because they're photopolymer, you need to have the insert. So either this one, because the photopolymer doesn't reach down to here. Yesterday I used red rubber, and they go all the way down. So there's a couple of different inserts. This one I think you buy, and the other one comes in with the Stamparatus when you get it. Maybe not anymore, because you know, now some of this stuff's different. So I have taken the ones that I'm going to use, the stamps I'm going to use that aren't on the card. These are going to be cut out. And then I have a piece of shimmer white with scrap. So let's hope it's the right size. Yep, those are pretty good. So you just want to make sure everything's going to hit. And then photopolymer can be sticky. So I have 2 of the magnets, but I'm also just going to put a little bit of the washi tape, because sometimes when you have the sticky photopolymer and you go to lift this up, the card moves, which isn't a big deal. Like if you're using your Stamparatus for placement or something, but because I'm using it to build multiple colors of ink like I did yesterday, I don't want it to move. Otherwise it'll look like it's a 3D. You've had a little bit much to drink. We've all been there when you've tried to re-stamp over the top of something and it's almost there but not quite. That can happen if the photopolymer, especially when they're new. Once they've been cleaned a couple of times, that kind of goes away, but at the beginning they can be kind of sticky. So I have the flower, the leaves, and the pomegranate. So let's start with the petal pink. And I did not clean them from last time, so I'm going to put, this one really needs to be re-inked. A little bit right here. Celebration's a great time to pick up some re-inkers and refills. Let me put some on my flower. And then we'll just stamp this. But because if you buy your re-inkers right now, then you also can get some free stuff. So it's not just getting re-inkers. So you can see the petal pink is very light, and it's also very light because my thing needs to be re-inked. So I'm just trying to get the center here of my pomegranate, which if you get everywhere, the other colors are darker. And the same with my flower, just trying to get it there in the center. So I'm not trying to get everywhere. Let's do those. If you have a hard time pressing it with your hand, you can make different kinds of tools. I think somebody sells them, but you can just get something large and kind of scrape it on there. Now I'm going to go to So Saffron for my flower. I'm gonna just add that. So it'll have a little, it's just going to kind of build color on the top of that. And then let's go to our Poppy Parade. You don't want to dab all of this on here because it then has a spongy look, and we want that pretty part of the stamp to show through. I want this top to be darker. So wherever you want it to be darker, just add a little bit more ink. I thought about using a different method to put these on here today, but I already had the blending brushes out to use the stencil, so why change it? So now you can see these starting to come to life. A little bit more here. And every time, when you hit it with a different spot and some more color, then you can see it just kind of picks up a little bit more. So get this a little bit darker so it kind of has that fun shading on it. Then maybe just a tad again over here. This is super fun. If you're having a stressful day or you just want to think about something other than whatever's going on in your life, then using stamping for your own enjoyment and not just for card making to give somebody a card. I mean, eventually you'll give this to somebody, or you could make a really nice framed piece with either of the things that we've done the last 2 days. So I've got this, and then I'm going to take a little bit of cherry cobbler. Kind of add that in the middle, and then around the side, and then just a little dot in the middle of my flower. And I'm going to get a little bit more of the So Saffron because it's a light color. It just looks pretty on the stamps, doesn't it? So now we have these. You can see it just gets darker and darker. Now I can go back with my, you could do it forever. Like you could literally sit here and keep adding color. It does get a little bit of ink back in your stamp pads, but they're meant to be used. And if there's a spot where you can see, like right here, I'm kind of getting the cherry cobbler on it. You just wipe it out, it mixes in, and that tiny bit of ink in there isn't going to do anything to your stamp pad. So you don't want a whole bunch of it in there. And you can just take a tissue or a wet wipe and kind of wipe that spot out. and then re-ink it, because you're going to need to re-ink anyways after you've done this, sucked this much ink out of your pads. And I'm just going to go a little bit more of the poppy to get the kind of that bright color in there. That should be good for the 2 of these. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so now I'm going to do my leaves. I have soft suede for the stems. So put this stem here and then over on the flower. Now you don't have to do the stems on these because we're going to cut these out. There's not a die cut, like I said. So you can leave the stem off if you want. I like that little bit of soft suede because it ties it to our card. But we're going to use the branch as well. So now I have the new parakeet, which is a super fun bright green. And that kind of just brightens this whole card up. So I'm going to do one with that. Remember, I have that. Isn't that nice? Get a little bit more green, and not everywhere because you don't want them all to be the same leaf. So this one over here I'll kind of leave, so it doesn't have as much. And then I have Old Olive, which these are not the colors that I used on my olive yesterday, but you could. If you like these colors, then use them instead. Now this is the Old Olive, and I'm going to kind of try to get the edges and the tips just to give a little bit of shading. It doesn't take a lot of this because that green. And you know why? Another reason it doesn't take as much of this ink is because my parakeet pad is new. And some of these other ones not new, they were pretty well inked, but now that I've done a couple of cards with it, and I sponged a bunch of these because I tried different methods. So I've done a lot of the sucking up of my stuff with it. So we've got those. These need to be set aside to dry because there's a lot of ink on there now. Because if you're going to cut them out by hand, you don't want to smear them. So I hope you can see the shimmer white. It adds just that touch of shimmer that's really, really pretty to that. Now we're going to go back to our background, pop this off. And to clean these, the easiest, I think, while they're stuck to this when they're photopolymer, is I just take it to the sink and I hold it over the water and let the water get most of it off. That way you're not getting your chamois super full of ink, and you're not having to use a wet wipe. Although yesterday somebody suggested a makeup wipe, which would not smell like changing diapers, which is part of the issue I have with wet wipes. But she said they're also not linty. So that's a great idea. I mean, my chamois is my first preference. Actually, running, like when I have glasses, running them under the water is my very first preference because that does take off most of it. So I have already stuck this on here, and because it's dirty, I'll show you how to line it back up if you've already done that. So I want to have enough room at the top that I can add a flower. So that looks good. Pop that on here. Moved it a little bit, but that's okay. And then again, I'm going to add this. The grid lines on here are nice. If you have the old one and it doesn't have the grid lines, then that paper that I always use on my desk, it's designed to go in here. Now, I am not going to show you inking these leaves because it's the exact same thing that I did, except there's a little bit more soft suede. So you don't need to see that. I'll do, when I come back, I'll show you the other two. Okay, so I've done this. Same way that I did the leaves on the olive video and the way I just did the leaves. So now I've got this one, and these may have to move because these have been placed for my other card. So let's get this one. And this is how you always place something on a Stamparatus, is you decide where you want it. And I want it about right here. And then on this one, I want it about right, because every card's going to be a little bit different on these. Let's do it. When I'm almost on the card, they can go off a tiny bit. So there you go. And once you know where you want them, then just drop this and then pick them back up. Mine already have a little bit of color on them. And then because I don't have anything holding it down yet, especially if they're brand new photopolymer, they're going to be sticky. So hold it in place just like that. And now that you know where you want it, take your washi tape. There we go. So I'm going to do the leaves the same way. So let's go back over with the parakeet. It's much easier when you're just doing little ones after you've done those big ones. And with these, you need them to be dark enough that it's going to kind of cover up the stenciling. Let's cut those. Let's get a tiny bit of olive. Put that there. And then just a hit of the brown. Little tip there, which is all the way covered up on my other one, so it might get all the way covered up again, but you know, sometimes when you cut things out and you place them somewhere, they end up in a little bit of a different spot. Now let's do the flower. So again, I'm going to start with the saffron. I'm just going to ink this whole thing up with my saffron. Again, a light color, super light. So it'll probably take 2 coats because I want it to make sure that it looks different than my stenciling that's right there next to it. My other card that I did, I left more room at the top before I did that. And then let's go to our petal pink. I'm going to kind of ink up half this flower and then kind of get the edges. So there's one. Here we go. And then that's all of the stamping that we have to do. There is a tiny little centerpiece. I'm going to do it in soft suede. You can add some pomegranate seeds. It can be a background or it can be the center of this flower here. That also just pulls a little bit of soft suede into the card. So now we're done with all these inks. And then when you are done stamping a session like this, get your refill. And that's what I'll do before I put all these up and then refill them. You just add 4, 5, 6 drops to it. I'm going to take a second and cut these out with scissors. All right, so those are cut out. We have this. Now, go back to yesterday's card. So on this one, I added some embossing. You could do that. I added the gold leafing, which is beautiful. You could do that. I stamped on this ribbon, which you could stamp these leaves on here and use this ribbon. So any of the cards over the next few days, mix and match away. So that's how I did that one. This one, it was really tempting to use the gold because I love the gold. I thought about flicking some stuff on there, but I decided to keep this one a little bit more natural looking. So we have this. So for the ribbon I chose, is one of my favorites. We've had a version before that was in a combo pack, but it's the woven ribbon. And it keeps it a little bit more rustic looking, not so Italian. I don't know where pomegranates are from. Maybe from Australia they could grow there because I think we ate them more there than when we lived there than what we do here. So I have a piece about this long. And I'm going to take one little string. You just want one. Don't do more than one. That is going lengthways. And just pull that. And you're going to pull the whole entire piece of ribbon. This will come out the other end. So stop before you get there because we need about that much anyways. So we have that big ribbon and it's down to that. You could use it for a little accent piece, but I just want to put it across here. You don't want it to have adhesive the whole way because we need to open it back up, but we want the ends to stop. So I want to have enough here that I can wrap around the other way. So just a little bit. And then I need enough here to wrap along the other way. But now this string has already moved. That's why you want to do that before you want to pull the string before you stick it, because if you stick the string, then you're not going to be able to pull it out. Let's flip this over. You could take the dry brush stamp add that. If you have other background stamps that kind of give that look, you could do that, because we want a little bit of, we want that background, because we're not using any paper, designer series paper, so we want it to look, have a little bit more texture than what it has now, especially because it's been sponged. And here's just a little secret, you know, when you've used all that, you can see how dirty my fingers are. Sometimes you go to touch something and then it's dirty, and this will cover up so many dirty things. Have a fingerprint you don't want, just make it part of the design. So I'm going to take my cherry cobbler. This is the dark blend, and it really does work the best with the bone folder. Ask my ladies at camp, because you can flick it with all kinds of things, but the bone folder works the best. So I don't want to do too much, but and I do this all the time, and people at my classes do it all the time, and it doesn't like suck up your blends. It doesn't ruin your blend. So now we have a little bit more texture. Again, you could put this over here. You could leave it all off if you like a little bit more clean look. We all like a little bit of a different look, but I'm just trying to show you a bunch of different things that you can do. So let's get our soft suede. Fold this in half. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on here now, because again, it has a lot of wet ink on it, and my hands are already filthy. I guess I'll have to go for a swim to clean them off, you know? So put that on there. I haven't watered yet today, because if I don't water before I do my first video, then I can go out and swim. So I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna give it a little bit of lift. Same with this, just a little bit of bend, and we'll use some dimensionals so it keeps that on the card. And then when I had this, I was kind of messing with where I wanted to put it. And I thought you should do a couple of these, because then you would have one more. You could do 2 sets of leaves and you'd have more, but I was done and all my stuff was off. So nobody says there has to be 3 leaves on this one. So now we have 2 sets of leaves that we can play with. So let's take our dimensionals. And I have some that are almost gone, and you know, you use every last bit of these things up. So here's a nice big piece for our pomegranate. And if you put that right in the middle, then this will bend over. So I want this on here first, because it's obviously the largest. And the nice thing about this ribbon now is if I need it to sit right here, I can move the ribbon. And then I can kind of take my scissors, or take your pick tool, something sharp, and kind of pull that back under there. So that ribbon is customizable for whatever design you want to put. Now I'm going to do my flower, and again, I'm going to stick some of these just right here in that middle to keep that bend up there. And when you have the edges, then you can just kind of keep tearing them. It's harder to tear the regular size ones, but when you get to the edge, you can tear that. Now you can see I have this little stick. I want to kind of match that up so it's kind of matching to this. So it kind of looks like it goes onto that. Then we have these leaves left. So let's put that one up there. Or you could even cut them apart one more, because I kind of want, that isn't where my other one was. So maybe I'll just cut these apart. We'll see. Let's get this one on here. They are going to be a little bit different spots than my other one, because this one was hid underneath that. No, it's okay. I know what I'll do, because I really want my leaves at the top. And now I need to switch to the baby ones. I just don't want that showing, but you know, we can fix things with pretty things. I'm just gonna add this. That will cover up any of this stuff that's kind of just, because I didn't do extra flowers, and you can see these are meant to have extra flowers or leaves, so you can kind of build it. But when there's not a die cut machine, I'm a little bit lazy. So now we've got those covered up. So this kind of looks like it goes there. And then for our embellishments, that's what we will fix them with. So these are from the Gnomes in the holiday catalog, the Fine Sparkle Adhesive Back Gems. And you can see these 2 colors. This I think is papaya, and I think this is sorbet, but because we've sponged and we blended and we have different variations of oranges and pinks, it works fine on here. So let's take one of these, and these I kind of had as stand-ins for other flowers. So we'll put one here. I'm gonna put the big ones, the places where they need to cover up, and then that's what we'll do here. So they kind of are just flowers, and then I'll do one more big red one, and then we'll do 2 little ones. So let's get this one. It doesn't have to be on there. And then I'm pretty sure this is papaya. Stick that on there. So 2 things, no big shot needed, no die cut machine, no anything that takes a lot of time. There's different techniques. Again, mix and match. And then when you see the next card in the series, you'll be able to mix and match that one too. Every time your coloring is going to be a little bit different, but not terribly. Move that out of the way so when I do my Instagram, people aren't like, where'd that card come from? You can always watch my videos sped up a few days after they post on YouTube over on my Instagram channel. But you can see a little bit different, but not terribly. But you're not going to be able to sponge and stencil and splatter and get your cards to look the same every time. So there you go. Join me back here in a day or 2 for the last of the series. And then I'm going to do something similar one day over the Christmas one, because I really had 4 cards, but I don't have 4 days. So I will add an art one to the Christmas series, and I'm going to use that nativity set. Whether or not I use the nativity or the church, I'll use one of them. So check back for that, because that's a popular set, and it's another one I've had so many people say, oh, I didn't know what to do with that. So hopefully you're getting some ideas on what to do. And if you want to keep this a little bit more rustic, I will tell you, I almost put the the little brown gems that are from the He's the Man suite on here. That kind of makes it a little bit more nature than these, but these were new, and we all like new. So there you go. Have a great day. Bye.